harsh truths are coming today. This weekend, I'm 1 year sober. But what I didn't realise was that getting sober was the start of a much bigger journey of becoming the person I'd always wanted to be. Initially, I just quit drinking to clear the bad things out of my life. But a surprising part of getting sober has been how many good things have appeared. On a material level, I quit biting my nails, I bought a flat, which I'm sitting in right now. But on a deeper level, I feel healthier, my relationships are better, and I just feel this sense of inner peace. It's been really challenging in places, especially at the beginning, but things are just overwhelmingly better than they were. I became the kind of person I wanted to be, and my world got wider. So yeah, I changed my life in a year, and I hadn't even thought it was possible. I find it quite hard to reflect as I'm very much in the middle of the journey still, and I'm definitely still processing everything that happened in the first half of the year and everything that happened while I was drinking. But I wanted to make a note on what I think changed in case it could help you as well, because it's not just about the drinking. Maybe this is just a pep talk for myself or a diary for me to look back on, but if it helps you as well, then that's wonderful. So let me tell you how I think I did it. Hello, it's Lucy from the future here. Before we jump into the video, I would love to thank Sky Cinema for working with me on this video. I am part of Sky Cinema Club, where I watch and review a film every month that is new to Sky Cinema. As you can tell, I'm in a new flat. I cannot wait to make it all cozy and have some nights in. Something I've had to do since getting sober is parent my inner teenager. And I missed movie nights, sleepovers, midnight snacks, we love it, and a good film. So this month I watched Aisha, which is about a young Nigerian woman seeking asylum in Ireland and building an unlikely friendship with a man who is played by Josh O'Connor. Aisha is really moving, it's really powerful. It might be one of my favourite films I've watched this year. It really highlights the challenges of being an asylum seeker, but more so the systemic challenges. I noticed that you don't really see any examples of overt racism against Aisha, even though it would be something that would be plausible and believable for a writer or a director to put into a film about being an asylum seeker. In fact, most of the characters are incredibly kind to Aisha, but what you see are these overarching systemic issues in the structure of how one seeks asylum and how these structural issues cause such awful feelings of displacement and struggle for asylum seekers, which was incredibly powerful and just so deeply sad. But ultimately the film does have hope, and I just love the chemistry between Letitia Wright and Josh O'Connor's characters. Oh, he is called Connor. I kept wanting to call the character Connor, but I wasn't sure. I'd love to have seen Connor's character explored more, but obviously limited amount of time, and it is Aisha's story. But they both are so interesting, and I love the dynamic between them. So yeah, I would really recommend it. If you watch anything this month, make it Aisha. And you can watch Aisha on Sky Cinema. Okay, let's roll it back to the video. The first step is one we've already talked about. I quit what was holding me back. If you'd like to hear more about my sobriety journey, I've made two really in-depth videos, one when I was 21, when I attempted to get sober for the first time, and one 6 months down the line from when I got sober the second time. I'll link them both, they'll be in the description and in the cards. So everything changed when I quit the thing that was holding me back. For me, that was alcohol, but for you, that could be any number of things. If you're watching this, you might know there's one specific thing that is getting in the way of the rest of your life. That's how I felt about alcohol. I would urge you to quit it. The first few months were rough, they are rough, but it was definitely the catalyst for everything good that's happened since. There's one caveat to this, which is that if you think the thing that you need to change is to lose weight or change your appearance in any way, I'd encourage you to take one step deeper, look one layer back, and examine what that feeling stems from. What is the root cause of why you are worried about your weight or your appearance? The only reason I say this is we've just been conditioned to hate ourselves by society. So I think it's important to look at why you're specifically focused on the impact your weight and appearance has on yourself, and on your frustrations on yourself, how you take those out on yourself, what's going on below the surface that those are stemming from. For some people, they won't need to quit anything at all, but for me, that was the root of my problems. The next thing that happened was I took ownership of my life. And don't get me wrong, I had a few times where I felt sorry for myself. I had a few days where I just could not get out of bed, and it can be really healing to hold yourself and comfort yourself. But once I'd done a bit of that, I had to put my big girl pants on and do the work. For me personally, I wanted to know that I had done everything in my power to improve my life, and then I could step back and let the universe do its thing. Everyone is dealt a hand of cards in life. Lots of people have lots of different struggles of different natures, and we have to adapt and overcome in order to achieve whatever we can achieve out of this life. I think it is very normal to feel victimized but it is important not to sit in that emotion. I definitely had my fair share of times where I thought, why is this my reality? This sucks. Ultimately, it is what it is. I can't change the fact that I have an alcohol problem, so I've just got to work with it. I also had to give my need for control a reality check. Had I done everything in my power to help? If I had, then I had to take my hands off the wheel. You can only act for yourself. You can't act for the weather, the people, the traffic. And specifically for me, I can't control how other people feel about me. I can't control their feelings about the decisions that I make. I had to stop spending energy trying to exert control on things that I ultimately had no control over. It was a waste of time, a waste. And then put the focus on the things that were in my power and exert energy only on those and accept the rest for what they were. Yeah, I found that hard. I reclaimed my time. I know some people have unavoidable obligations like children, or maybe they're a carer part-time or full-time, but I didn't have that. I could use my time how I wanted to, so why wasn't I? Very quickly after I got sober, I realized that I'd been burning the candle at both ends, and there was a reason why I was always exhausted. And I was choosing to do all of those things. I was out every night or every other night of the week, and I couldn't work out why I felt so sluggish, why I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. Girl, if you're going out till 1 or 2 multiple nights a week, and you've had a bottle of wine each time, what do you expect? Tell me how you expect a different outcome. Harsh truths are coming today from your favorite neighborhood older sister. And I loved my chill time, but I wasn't prioritizing it at all. So when I got sober, those priorities firmly shifted. I physically couldn't do those behaviors that I used to. And so I ended up having to carve out my time, carve out the way I wanted to spend my time, which was incredibly valuable to me. So yeah, when I put these steps together, all in all, they build up this bigger picture of taking control of my life. I built my confidence. Let's talk about this one. I think this is one of the biggest ones for me, because before this year, I would say stuff like, oh, I really want to volunteer. I want to do this. I want to do that. But I'd never follow through. I want to stop buying my nails. I want to stop drinking. And I never could. And that failure to go through and follow through, commit to my goals, destroyed my confidence. I felt like a failure all the time. And that in turn played into feelings of lowness, anxiety. Oh, my anxiety was through the roof most of my life. The initial thing that changed my confidence was having to advocate for myself all the time. People do not like it when you tell them you don't drink. It is a shock to a lot of people. You are upsetting the status quo in British society by saying you are not going to drink and saying you're never going to drink. It makes people actively uncomfortable, especially as before that, I was someone who would always take the easy route, try and fit in with other people, not rock the boat. So yeah, getting sober forced me to loudly advocate for myself, even when it made other people feel uncomfortable. And I didn't realize that at the time that was building my confidence, and in turn validating my gut feeling and my intuition, which in turn further built my confidence. Following through with my commitments also built my confidence, particularly, obviously, getting sober and staying sober, but that also bled into other parts of my life. So for example, I always said I wanted to develop my skills in music production, and during sobriety, I found the time to do that. And I built that into my routine consciously. Obviously, it's been a bit upset by the fact we haven't had stability for the past few months, but when I was settled, I was really able to build it into my routine. That one's a more personal one for me, but maybe something more universal that I experienced is that I was able to take control of my money and my spending. When I was drinking, even though I had a good budget plan and I felt relatively confident about money, I was still dipping into my savings every single month without fail. And so my savings didn't grow as fast as I'd hoped they would, and I felt like a failure. I couldn't check my bank balance and fearful around money. But then as soon as I quit drinking, that dipping just stopped. For me, the drinking was where it was stemming from. It was these unpredictable nights out, it was the binging, it was the extremes. So yeah, a lot of these perceived bad behaviors were connected to my cycle of drinking. Not trying to escape myself all the time helped me tune into myself and learn more about who I really was. I feel more like me than I have in my life. I am Lucy. I spent my whole 20s and most of my teens trying to be that girl. I was chasing after an ideal that didn't really exist, but I wasn't really aware that it didn't really exist. I'd follow people on Instagram and look at their perfect lives and do everything possible to try and be them. I was so desperate to be them. You know, it was these skinny yoga bunny girls. They were really organized. They never messed anything up. When I quit the self-harming drinking cycle, that ideal gradually faded until I just didn't even recognize a desire to do that anymore. I remember waking up one day and thinking, why on earth did I want to be those girls? They're just so different to me. I think I just started to like myself a bit more. And I also realized that that perfect girl was perfect for herself, and I could be perfect for myself too, in my own special way. Focusing a bit more on identity, I always saw myself as a fun girl, as a night owl, and I had to come to terms with that identity no longer being me. But then I realized I didn't suddenly have to be someone who was in all the time either. I still like going out. I love London at night. Like, get me on a fucking night bus. I love it. But I was now just a nuanced individual. I lost this need for these extreme identity markers. I started to see patterns of insecurity in myself, and thus I started working on them. For example, and obviously this does play into the Instagram thing because that is part of my job, I would see what everyone else was doing in my career and I would desperately try and copy everyone because I thought it must be the right way forwards because they were doing it and they were successful, instead of doing what just felt right for me. Honestly, I don't even know if I could have tuned in and worked out what was right for me by the end. I was so exhausted. I would put pressure on myself every day to be as good as that person at my job, and comparison was the thief of joy, honestly. I was constantly comparing myself to more successful people online, but over time I realized that I actually am good at what I do. I don't need to copy someone bit for bit to actually be successful. Again, I have my own special sauce. These might seem like really basic, obvious things, but these were all things that I did not have. I can see in my body language still that I lack confidence, and there's stuff that I need to work on personally to build my confidence, but I didn't even realize I had low confidence until I was about 6 months into sobriety. I honestly thought I was chilling. And I look back at vlogs and my body language and I can just see I'm so uncomfortable in my own skin. So yeah, 1 year in and I feel more secure in myself than I have ever before in my life. I feel like my style has changed drastically as well, and I think you can see that. I started practicing gratitude, and yes, I do hate gratitude lists, but unfortunately they do work. I think they're lame, okay? Sorry. But focusing on the great things in your life completely reframes your mindset, and it just brings the wonderful things in your life into the light. Imagine I'm saying this in a Katie Herod voice, but focusing on the bad in your life won't make it any better. I have to appreciate the good things in my life or I will drive myself insane. I just end up focusing on all the things I want or how everything could be so different, but that's not my life. I have my life and my life is like this. So for a long time I struggled with this thought paradox where sobriety never felt like a choice that I made. I feel like sobriety was something I just had to do, like life just put it on me. But at the same time, I never felt like I made a single decision to get drunk in my life either. These things just felt like they happened to me, and it felt like I had no choice in any of it. In the early days of sobriety, and like quite far into sobriety, this paradox was something that would just go round and round my head in a cycle. I'd overthink it. I'd try and find some answers to something that was ultimately unanswerable. People would always praise me on my choice to get sober, but none of it felt like a choice because it felt like I was just gonna explode and ruin my life if I kept drinking, which I, again, didn't feel like I was choosing to do. So I just existed in this mental purgatory. But I just had to shut my brain up and focus on the good things in my life, because dwelling on that wasn't going to make me any better. It wasn't going to fix my problem with alcohol. It wasn't going to make me a good drinker. And it wasn't even keeping me at neutral. It was keeping me down in the depths. Once I accepted it was an unsolvable riddle and I focused on the good things that sobriety brought me day to day, was when I finally felt free of caring. It just made me feel a lot better day to day. The acceptance that I'll never have an answer, plus the gratitude and the daily appreciation of all the good things in my life are what helped free me. I manifested, but not in the spiritual way. I wasn't aware I'd even manifested anything, honestly, but I don't think it can go unsaid. But when I was in the depths of despair in December, I did a few things that actually really helped me for the rest of the year. I was just looking to escape any thought of what was going on at that moment, so I was really focused on the future, and so I made some goals lists, and I kind of came up with a vision of what I wanted my life to look like, and I was specific and I wrote them down. I'm the kind of person who needs direction, so I have to create that for myself. I then made a collage of lots of inspiring images from Pinterest that kind of looked the way that I wanted my year to look, and then I made that my desktop background. Every time I open my laptop, every morning, I see those images. Seeing those every day definitely had an impact. And it wasn't immediate either. Work-wise, I feel like I've finally just cracked it after about 6 months of desperately trying to work out what the heck I'm doing. And with life stuff, it was just a case of putting one foot in front of the other and just using these overarching goals to steer me in the very minute day-to-day. I don't know if you've read Atomic Habits, but I really do believe in what James Clear talks about in terms of building habits, doing 1% a day, making sure that your day-to-day reflects your overall goals. So yeah, having a small set of goals in mind and just living the way that you think someone would live if they were going to achieve those things. That's what I consider to kind of be manifesting. And beyond that, just letting life take me. Again, you gotta wash your hands of the control. I was open and willing to experience change. As I was saying just before, part of this was just leaving the universe to decide and to see what came into my path, whether I went looking for it or whether it was an opportunity that maybe I hadn't considered before. I'm a big believer in having strong boundaries, but I also think it's important to have some kind of exposure therapy and keep yourself open and trying new situations, even when they make you mildly uncomfortable. Dip a toe. I may not have liked the idea of the experience. I may not have enjoyed the experience itself when I did it, but it was probably good for me that I put myself out there. I challenged myself, because you don't grow when you're comfortable. One of the most uncomfortable things I did this year was volunteer as a responsible adult at a youth event. I volunteered to be a part of it while I was still drinking, and then it came around, I was freshly sober, and I was thinking, what am I doing? I didn't even feel like I was a responsible adult, let alone being a responsible adult for a school's worth full of kids on a residential long weekend. I really didn't want to do it. But I talked to some friends and everyone said, just go to the planning weekend, see how you feel, you can always pull out. Yeah, sleeping in a dorm room bed. I was like, I'm a material girl now. I don't want to sleep in a dorm room in some random building. But I absolutely loved the weekend and I am so grateful I did it. It didn't matter about the dorm room bed and the bad food. The relationships I built with the volunteers and the young people made it all like 500 times worthwhile. And with any luck, I will go back next year. So yeah, that is why I think my life has changed so much this year. This has been the most transformative year of my life, hands down. And I don't think I've fully even deeped like how insane it is. I've not drunk for a year. What? I drank 5 days a week at least. Yeah, I hope this helps. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe if you're new around here. It is so lovely to have you. And thank you so much as well, quickly, for all the love on the Elf Bar video. I am so grateful. There will be more video essays coming your way. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video.